your way to sterile products, successful sterilization with radiation, and sterilization with ionizing radiation is well established, of course. As we know, historically, gamma rays have been utilized for sterilization. Meanwhile, beta rays have a fair share as well. For the healthcare industry, sterilization often means an outsourced manufacturing step, which means establishing good communication and exchange between the manufacturer and the sterilization service provider is key, of course. Prerequisites, definitions, standards, regulations, steps towards successful sterilization now in pitches by Barbara Schmitz. We met her before on stage. She's a graduate economist and has been working in various areas of medicine and medical technology for over 30 years. And she joined and has strengthened the BGS as key account manager in the area of irradiation sterilization. So welcome back.
Thank you very much.
With us as well, Betsy Sanjaya. She holds a bachelor's and master's degree from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, and she joined BGS in 2020. Has been a team leader sterilization application development since the beginning of 2022. Please, ladies, floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I will start with the pitch. To reach a successful irradiation sterilization process, from the validation to the routine, and to the pickup of your goods. Not only that the material for sterilization irradiation needs to be suitable, and your process needs to be validated as well, but communication is also key. Irradiation helps you to obtain sterile products, which according to ISO 556, terminally sterilized medical devices can be designated as sterile if the theoretical probability of there being a viable microorganism in the product is equal to or less than 10 to minus 6. This means that one viable microorganism is allowed in 1 million products. You need to process your products under defined conditions. For example, the microbiological load after the production may not exceed a certain level. Irradiation sterilization is suitable for single-use medical devices, and they need to be packed in sterile barrier so that it doesn't support microbiological growth. You also need to establish a sterilization dose, and that is the minimum dose that your products need to acquire so that it can be labeled as sterile. For that, you need to conduct a microbiological test according to DIN EN ISO 11137 Part 2. The result that you get, the sterilization dose, depends on the bioburden of your product and also from which method do you use for the determination. Is it method 1, 2A, 2B, VDMAX 15 or VDMAX 25? There we have one important term, sterilization dose. Second important term is the maximum acceptable dose, and that is the upper limit, which up to this point, it is validated that your product will retain its function after the irradiation sterilization. You might want to test your product for brittleness, elasticity, biotoxicity, color changes, and so on. And you need to consider not only the majority of the material in your products, but the smaller component as well. For example, a sealing ring, a mini component in a product. But you do want to test if it will get brittle or not after the irradiation, because if a sealing ring is brittle afterwards, it might cause leakage during usage. We BGS, we support you not only to irradiate your product for the routine later on, but also to irradiate your product so that you can establish the sterilization dose and also to establish the maximum acceptable dose. The technical aspects aside, we also need to think how should we proceed your products so that it is cost and logistically speaking efficient for you. We BGS, we dispose a gamma plant in Wiel, another one in Bruxelles, a 10 MeV e-beam plant in Bruxelles, and another one in Saal an der Donau. And if the technical aspects has been determined, is e-beam or gamma is the more suitable one for you, we will then give you suggestion to which location should you later on send your goods so that it is logistically efficient for you. The technical aspects, we've talked about the sterilization dose and maximum acceptable dose before. The third aspect that we need to clarify is the product configuration. For example, how is the density of your product? How is the product orientation in the transport box? How is the packaging scheme of your pallet? Is there any shielding component in your products, for example, metal? We need a clear and transparent communication from your side, so that not only we can give you the best solution, but also a correct one. After all of those has been clarified, we can go ahead with the sterilization validation, or also called performance qualification or dose mapping. Both E-beam and gamma are regulated under DIN E and ISO 11137, and relevant for the validation are Part 1, requirements for development, validation, and routine control of a sterilization process for medical devices, and Part 3, guidance on dosimetric aspects of development, validation, and routine control. Short differences between gamma and E-beam. With gamma, the irradiation source is cobalt-60. The unirradiated pellet, shown yellow here, will go to the irradiation chamber, and it will move around the cobalt source. And after the irradiation is completed, it will of course go out of the irradiation chamber. With gamma beam, the irradiation depth is large in the matter. That's why we can irradiate a whole pellet here. The downside is the irradiation takes quite a long time. Normally several hours will your product remain in the chamber. E-beam is basically just the contrary of that. The irradiation depth in matter is small, and it is more susceptible to product configuration, like what we've talked before, the density, the orientation of your product in the carton, and is there any shielding component or not. Therefore, the irradiation unit here is transport box. Advantage is the transport box undergoes the beam in just seconds, so it is a very quick process. After the performance qualification has been completed, it will be documented to our technical report, and it will be uploaded to our ERP system. After that, we can go ahead with the routine. For that, you need to organize your order with our order management department. With them, you can clarify when will you send your goods, how many volumes are you going to send next. And you can deliver your goods from Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and it will be guided by our logistics department. After the goods arrived, it will be identified and it will be labeled. And this label contains a linkage to our ERP system before, so that your products will be irradiated according to the results of the performance qualification. Will it be with beta, gamma, and with which dose range? After the irradiation is completed, it will then be controlled if the irradiation took place accordingly, and then it will be certified. At the very last, you will get a pickup notification where you can, of course, pick up your goods. And that are the steps for you to obtain sterile products by BGS. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies, for this presentation. And we identified a bunch of questions that are most likely to be asked by our listeners who are online with us right now. And so this is kind of the bedrock of questions that are mainly asked. First off, are there any restrictions for the decision gamma or E-beam irradiation?
Yes. There are restrictions due to materials or probably restrictions in terms of difficult product geometries.
Okay.
What does that mean in detail? Materials like, for example, PMMA, that changes the color. SAN as well. PVC and latex, for example, are definitely not suitable for the irradiation sterilization process because they're getting brittle. POM and PTFE, for example, are breaking down rapidly, and they are also not suitable for this kind of sterilization process. We can provide you with an overview of materials as well, and if they are suitable or not. And please ask for our white paper, Sterilization of Medical Devices. This white paper is available in English and in German. Due to the interesting question of difficult product geometries, it's always very much appreciated that we talk about that in advance.
Yeah, early on.
Early on, yes, that's right. And we would ask you in detail, for example, about the type and intended use of the products. We would discuss with you the arrangement in the primary packaging. We would discuss with you as well how are your products arranged on a pallet in the secondary packaging. And we clarify all these questions in a personal dialogue. And if there are any restrictions that may occur due to that, we have lots of experience you can fall back on. There can also arise a number of restrictions triggered by the question, which technology is the right one for my products? And this could be, is it E-beam, is it gamma? What technology is the best one? And this is also a question we're going to clarify with you in a personal dialogue.
Thank you very much. Second of those crucial questions, how does a validation of products take place on average?
This is a very good question as well. And it depends on your number of products you want to integrate. And it depends on the depth, the required depth of validation and qualification. If this is the leading parameter, and without microbiology, without packaging validation, without quality assurance agreement, without audit, without any other additional negotiable constructions, you can assume 10 to 12 weeks, and that is quite short. 10 to 12 weeks is nothing. Within that period, we are talking about validation and qualification, including the according technical report and a very deep dialogue. And don't forget, at this point, the customer release period time. It's quite sufficient and it's quite remarkable as well. And to reach that mentioned frame, 10 to 12 weeks, a trouble-free and a consistent acting is very much appreciated.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we've been discussing this even last year, that most likely this is the last piece of a chain,
Yes.
For the manufacturer, and this person or this entity then all of a sudden thinks, oh, we need sterilization, and then to factor in 10 to 12 weeks is somewhat tough for the manufacturer.
It is.
But it's good to raise the awareness here at that point, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Next question would be, can you support us with all relevant services concerning validation and qualification?
Yes, we can. Of course.
I remember that phrase.
This support really depends on how familiar you are with the radiation sterilization process. It really depends on. If we are talking about a support from the very beginning, then 6 to 8 months are pretty common. And this is also a short time. And please already mention necessary steps like microbiology, like packaging validation is not carried out by BGS. Our client have to commission these steps by himself. Any other questions around this process will be carried out together with the client and BGS. But all over, we are talking about 6 to 8 months. And it's quite a short time. It sounds that long, but 6 to 8 months is nothing.
Yeah, true. One more, what additional steps do we have to consider?
You need to consider either if your products are suitable for building product groups or not. We're talking about that topic very, very deep earlier this day. And if not, please take care that you have to validate and qualify every single product. If your portfolio is appropriate for building product groups, that's good as well. We need to consider that the leading information is always the technical report, and within the technical report, all products containing to the product groups are stated. And the main advantage of product groups, and we had this main advantages for a couple of times during the stay, is that you can always add additional products with suits to that product group without having any further complicated qualification process. And in almost any case, the sterilization process always represents the final manufacturing step. It's always in that way. And for that, we are part of your production chain.
Right.
And the validation of E-beam and gamma irradiation, Betsy also stated this, is regulated via DNE and ISO 11137. And any additional action, like audit, for example, or quality assurance agreement, takes several months as well,
Right.
and until it's done. And if you're dealing, especially with medical devices, these preparatory activities, they are mandatory.
Absolutely crucial. Yes.
Yeah.
We have one additional question coming in, very special for diamond irradiation. What is the max time to be irradiated for the color change? I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that. So again, let me rephrase it. For diamond irradiation, what is the max time to be irradiated for the color change? Quite honestly, I don't even understand the question properly, I think, but maybe you can deal with it.
I think it is more suitable for tomorrow because it is not sterilization anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, it is actually quite common. It is known, but that is not our my main business. But it happens. But to be honest, like we said before, the material test or the ability of the material, up to which point it is available, it is probable to be irradiated. It should be conducted by the customer.
Right.
We can only support it with the irradiation, but the test itself, it's on the customer's hand.
Yeah.
So this is probably one-on-one question that the person asking this question might be get in touch with BGS and maybe get some hints tomorrow on the second day of ISD. Thank you very much at that time. Any final hints for the customer to say, once again, reframe it, don't delay getting in touch with us. I mean, this seems for me to be the bottom line, right?
It is, definitely. This is the bottom line. Definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much, Barbara and
You're
Betsy,
welcome.
at this
You're
time.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.